evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome to our TPN CES 2023. I know, yes, it's 2022. Hold on, we'll be good. This is our preview show. Oh, good. One of our other members just showed up. We will be talking about what we're hoping to see at CES 2023 this year, and things from the past. We've got a cool thing with Marlo that we're going to talk about as well. So why doesn't everybody introduce themselves? I'm Scott with F5 Live.
Kirk Corliss with GNC Week in Review.
Michelle with F5 Live.
I'm Don Bain, Gadget Professor.
Marlo Anderson, National Day Calendar.
And this is most of the team. We've got Todd Cochran, who's not available tonight because he is out of the country, but he will be at CES with us as well. And our viewers over the last couple of years will probably remember Chris Jordan. He will not be available this year because he has a work conflict. So we won't be seeing him, though we might be seeing him tonight, but we will not be seeing him in Las Vegas. But it's good. We're all back to normal. Don, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Back on the team this year. We've been missing you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. What have you been up to?
Well, I am in the process of, I'm done, but my home in Rhode Island had a leaky pipe in the attic, as I understand it. It will be a year ago, January 8th.
Oh.
The house was totally destroyed.
Oh, no.
So I'm still waiting for it to be built. So I've been going back and forth from Arizona to check on the house. But, oh, my God, ceilings, all new floor, all new fixtures, all new wiring. It just totally destroyed it. So that's been keeping me occupied for sure.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's nasty.
That's definitely crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, on our side, obviously last year we weren't physically in Vegas with everybody because of some health things on our team, but we will be there this year. And so the original team for a number of years is back together, and I'm really, really excited about that. And I'm also really excited, Marlo, about what we are doing with you this year. We're doing what we did last year, but bigger and better, right?
Bigger and better. It's pretty exciting, actually. We're going to be celebrating National Technology Day on January 6th at CES. We kind of put it together last second, right? Well, last day, maybe, right? We had this opportunity to take over one of the center stages, so we did that and kind of threw together a National Technology Day broadcast. This, because it went so well last year, we're going all out this year, and the streams will be on the National Day calendar feeds. It'll be on our website, as well as all of the Tech Ranch feeds, and of course, all of yours. So it should be a lot of fun. We're hoping to bring a different audience to this year. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last year, getting to see a different perspective. Obviously, for the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a kind of the same perspective of the show. It used to be, the studio would kind of bounce around. We did North Hall for a while. We did South Hall for a while. And, but we've been on the tower with the same background for a little while. It was really cool to get, a camera out onto a stage. I mean, technically, if they wanted to throw something at you, they might have been able to, but that's not the point. It did give a different perspective. And
they don't allow fruits and vegetables in the center. Otherwise, I probably would have had a couple tomatoes being tossed at me and things. Just saying.
Though I do remember they had some mushroom-based stuff.
They did.
That came up the whole rest of the show.
It was good stuff.
I would have given it a shot. I am not a mushroom person, but I would have given it a shot. You guys both seemed surprised by it. So, I mean, that would have been enough for me.
Well, they were making food out of it. I mean,
Right.
you know, I think we had the chili and all that.
Chili was good.
It was really good. Yeah,
The chili was good.
Really good. Yeah.
Well, definitely interesting. But this year, what's everybody hoping for? I know there have been some new trends at CES in the last year or two, but what's everybody hoping to see?
That's a tough one. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I think
there's so much there.
Go ahead, Don.
No, I'm just saying there's so much there. It's just, every year things just open up with a bazillion other things. I remember, might have been 7 years ago, they had 2 drones, and then it was 50 drones, and then like a year before last or 2 years ago, they had a whole floor of just drones. So and obviously that's really created havoc in the world with the war in the Ukraine and also just local stuff, deliveries. It's kind of crazy. So, I mean, that's the fun of CES. I don't know what to expect this year, but I'm ready for just about anything. You know, AI, artificial intelligence, really seems to be a hot item, particularly in the area of graphics. And I just had a product in here that was using AI for sound. It was pretty amazing. I mean, the headsets that are coming out now, one looks like a motorcycle helmet, the sight and the sound, it's all AI. It's pretty amazing stuff. So I expect to see a lot more of that stuff at CES. We shall see.
Yeah, based on what I've got on the schedule so far, I can tell you that AI definitely is playing a big role this year. I don't have anything AI visual, but I do have 2 audio products. Or no, 2 writing products and 1 audio product so far. So, and I'll tell you, the schedule's moving this year, way faster than usual at this point. So,
I think everybody's thirsty after a 2-year hiatus. You know.
Yeah, because a lot of companies, you know, for those who watched live and you saw the background of the live shot from Vegas, it was not 2020, that's for sure.
No, certainly by day 3, we were really scratching to even get people to interviews last year. I mean, we were basically the only people on the floor for the long.
Really?
It was very quiet last year.
Yeah, it was. And also too, what Pat's saying was like years past, you know, it's wall to wall people. I mean, 150,000 plus
having to throw elbows to get anywhere.
You know, and walking around to the convention center. The convention center was like completely sparse. I mean, there was like, you would see companies from one end of the spectrum to the other, completely sparse. West Hall was a really big snoozer. I mean, there were some companies representing there. They had Hyundai, a few companies, but overall gaps of it was like nobody to be found. I mean, you know, it was like really, West Hall was a disappointment. So I'm looking forward to West Hall, what they offer. I'm also looking forward to seeing what Google is coming out, because they had amazing booths over the years, and they had 1 year they had the gumball machine, and they had a big gigantic structure. Like I think it was 2020. I think it was. So I'm interested in what seeing Google has to offer and see what happens there.
For sure. Michelle, what are you hoping for?
I'm just so happy to be getting back there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Google has also. And just anything that's kind of shiny and lighty-uppy, and I'll follow it.
Lighty-uppy things.
It's funny because you would think that she would have been involved in decorating the studio here with as many lights as are going on in here.
I'm very much enjoying it.
Marlo, what are you hoping for?
I just wrote an article for a magazine entitled 2023, the year of disruption. And I truly believe that we're going to start seeing a lot of this disruptive technology starting to come forward in a mainstream type of thing. And I think you're just seeing that with AI right now. It's just insane the amount of AI that is coming out. Dolly, the chat GPT, I think is what it is. I've been trying to get in there to play with that a little bit, but that particular piece is actually starting to write code, which is just, I think, amazing to me. And then you start throwing this in where you have AI starting to blend with robotics now.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's just fascinating. I just looked at another one for the financial trade, and I think the financial, people who are in financing, whether it's banking or what have you, are really going to start feeling this pretty shortly. Accounting, all of that, because it's just incredible what's come out in the last year, and I think a lot of the stuff's going to be debuted at CES.
Yeah, for sure. There, so AI, so AI generating code. Microsoft has had something built into Visual Studio for about the last year and a half.
Right.
This Chat GPT thing, the code that it generates is mostly based on stuff from GitHub and Stack Overflow. But I mean, that's a good source. They're both pretty solid.
Oh yeah.
Beginnings.
And it's just a start to what's possible,
Mhm.
right? And that's, I think, what everybody's going to start seeing. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm kind of dubbing this year the year of disruption, because I think people are going to start understanding that, if you're 55 or 60 and ending a 40-year career, you're probably okay. If you're 30 and just getting into something, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 career challenges in the future, because those jobs are going to be disappearing. I'm not saying you're not going to find great jobs. I do truly believe that we're not going into a situation where we're going to have fewer jobs. They're just going to be totally different. This is going back to like 1900, when we're going from horse and buggy to automobile, right? This is exactly where we are at right now, and you're really going to start seeing that.
Yeah, agreed. And so I'm looking at one of the companies that has put in for a slot on the show, and I'm not going to say the name because I don't know how much of this has been, is public yet, but they've got a product that it says is accurate enough to identify people and objects through walls.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
What?
All right.
Right?
There goes our last bastion of privacy right there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Even
No
my
privacy
wall.
left.
Yeah, it definitely seems like lead-lined walls will be coming back.
I got an aluminum hat somewhere around here. So.
But so one of the questions I was going to ask that Marlo has started answering is, we usually talk about whether we think that this, and then before and after, whether or not we think a particular CES experience has been evolutionary or revolutionary. It definitely sounds like Marlo is saying he's expecting this to be revolutionary this year. Kirk, what are you thinking based on what you've seen so far?
Based on what I've seen so far over the past 4 years, I noticed that what evolved incrementally, especially with COVID, was health tech.
Mhm.
That has grown, exponentially. That when I was at Showstoppers, that majority of the booths there, products, were related to health tech. Over and beyond that. So I think what we're going to see evolving more is health tech, and not just necessarily with COVID-19, but airborne diseases or airborne, a host of things. So
sure,
that's why I've seen it evolved over the years.
And kind of on that, products coming out of COVID. It's not a health tech product, but it's a travel, quote unquote, travel product.
Right.
We've got coming on, I think on the first day. It's a company that makes an interactive virtual reality app for travel. So if for whatever reason you can't go to the Eiffel Tower, you can at least experience it this way. So it's an interesting thing that there were all kinds of ideas outside of just the direct health tech that came out of the last couple of weird years. So Michelle, evolutionary or revolutionary, and what product categories do you think are going to hit the hardest?
I don't know. In some ways, I think maybe both.
Sure.
I agree that the health tech is probably going to expand and change in some ways, and try to capitalize on things that have been going on. And then with AI moving in different directions, you got large corporations trying to change the way they're doing business, save some money here and there. So they're going to be looking for different things. I think it's going to be a little bit of both.
Sure. That makes sense. Don, what do you think?
I agree with Michelle. It's hard to tell what's coming up, what's evolutionary or revolutionary. It's a combination of both. If you look back from the development of the car to man on the moon, if you look at the whole global time span since man's been on Earth, it was a teeny piece of it. And I think we're just, it's always going to be the same pace, but a little bit accelerated every year. Things get, there's newer things, and they take things from the old inventions and the old programming, and then have a breakthrough and build on that, and then go to the next phase. So it's constantly evolving. Whatever word you want to put on it, it's always new, it's always fresh, and it has to be, because the world thrives on that. And as it increases in functionality, everybody's lives are enriched and becomes better. I can't imagine, living back in the early 1900s compared to what we do today, even 20 years ago. My God! So it's always fascinating and interesting to me to see what's out there, predict what's coming down the pike, for sure.
Yeah, totally agreed. And on that, things that nobody could have predicted. We've got a company whose goal is to eliminate all unprocessed household trash. Their goal is zero garbage. Well, zero trash. It's in all caps with an exclamation
point. Start at my house. It's funny, not to interrupt you, but no? I remember I was in my teens. I don't remember how old I was, and I said to my grandfather, I said, "Grandpa, do you think man will land on the moon?" And he looked at me like I was nuts. And he was in his 80s, late 80s, when I asked him that. And he said, "Yeah, they'll get there. They'll get there. I know they'll get there." He said, "But when they get there, they're going to burn, because it's a ball of fire. Just think about it. It's a ball of fire." And, his concept is interesting based on what someone would answer that today. He still thought that because, the sun lit it up, it was a ball of fire and they were going to burn. Never forget that. It was the coolest thing.
That's interesting, because one of the the arguments in the we never went to the moon thing is that it's its own light source, because rocks don't reflect light, and they always show a picture of a rock reflecting light as there. Doesn't matter. Anyway. If you don't know this about me, I love conspiracy theories because they are so unbelievably stupid. So anyway, yeah. And even just maybe a year or two before they actually landed on the moon, people were still like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not possible. We don't have the technology. It couldn't possibly happen. And then boom, the moon shot was one of those things that created so much new stuff outside of just NASA. It produced all kinds of, Velcro, right? That came out of well, I don't think it was NASA directly. I think it came out of Lockheed or somebody. But what? So I honestly, I think the last 2 years in the health tech space are going to be like the moonshot. I think there's going to be, because we've already seen some wild things that 2 years ago, if you had said that there'd be, a mess of products for sanitizing phones and computers and pencils or whatever, if somebody said that 3 years ago, they'd have been like, I don't know. We had one company pitch a product like that to us for CES 2020. mere weeks before everything went sideways. And now the number of pitches for cleaning products is through the roof for CES 2023. And 3 years ago, we had gone.
Well, COVID accelerated that for sure. I mean,
yeah. And that's just, one interesting product category. I think we're going to see a lot of things that grew out of it, like the VR travel thing, right? There's an AR product whose name I can't remember, that is essentially intended to, if I understand it correctly, because obviously the pitches we get are really short. If I understand it correctly, it's to essentially replace brochures and maps at things like national parks. And so it's all done through augmented reality on the phone. So you don't have to take something that's been maybe manhandled or whatever. So I can't imagine that this product didn't come out of, at least in some way, shape, or form, out of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So
accelerated it at least.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be cool to walk around and have the guide be right with what you're looking at.
Yeah. We've seen it in like really narrow concepts. Google and Nokia both had their AR built into their map products. I don't think either one still does. I don't think the Here We Go product still does, and I haven't seen it in Google Maps in a while. But they were really rudimentary. The technology's changed a lot since then. So, yeah.
I was just saying, what about the service industry? Do you think, like restaurants, for example, you think that things grown out of the pandemic? You've seen kiosks like at McDonald's now. It's their, it's a twofold thing, right? It's they can't afford to pay the minimum wage requirement, so they're replacing those people with kiosks, and of course they can't find enough people in some areas to work either. So it has to be these type of things. I've seen that some robots now are starting to take orders in some restaurants across the country, where they actually come to your table, take the order, or they serve you.
Or they serve, yeah.
Yes.
It's good you said we're saying that, Marla, because a few months ago on one of our prior episodes, there's a mall in Jersey that it's a robot burger kiosk.
And they're actually making burgers in this kiosk.
In a kiosk, yep. With all the toppings.
It's a little bit more than a vending machine, but I mean but it's all cooked to order.
Yep.
Right. So it's a fresh burger that comes out.
Yeah, and customized. If you want onion or tomato or lettuce or whatever, it comes out just as you ordered it, cooked in the vending machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing more and more and more of those things. And when the Impossible Burger was introduced at CES in 2019, and I remember us all talking about, this is an electronics show. Why is there food here? And it was such a big hit, of course, that other food technologies are going to be showing up. And I do believe we're going to see a lot more of that this year, along with those service. I mean, it would surprise me to see more robots, more of these kiosks, whatever it is at restaurants, and quite frankly, other service industries, whether you're cleaning a house or whatever. There's going to be technologies that are going to come out now that are going to be helping this along, because it's tough to find people to do this work now. Simple as that. So, yeah.
And we saw, was it the all digital? Was it CES 2021? Maybe somebody will remember. I think it was CES 2021, where we had a company that had essentially an entirely automated kitchen for restaurants. It could have 50 something items on the menu, and it could have some 600 or 700 ingredients or something like that.
It was at CES 2021.
Okay, so it was the all digital?
Yeah, it was all digital. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I remembered the interview being remote, and it was one of us, so it could have been last year as well. But I mean, that was a wild product, and they teamed up with a company in Belgium, I think, to pilot it. They had like 8 restaurants come online sometime in second quarter 2021. Apparently the test went really well. It works incredibly well. You can put your recipes in and it'll adjust to said recipe. It can grill, it can boil, it can do all kinds of things. It's really an interesting product. I suspect we're going to see more of that. Now, I don't suspect that somebody will have a booth with a full machine, because that would be it. I mean, it was huge. But I think we're going to see more of that kind of thing from small scale to large scale.
I think it'd be fun to see Flippy. Flippy's a flipper, or he flips hamburgers, of course, and the restaurant wasn't doing well until they put Flippy in, and now Flippy, the robot, has become kind of a tourist attraction. So the restaurant is busy all the time. I believe it's in Pasadena, California, that they have this restaurant that's doing that. So there will be things like that. And again, the Impossible Burger, they did give out samples at CES in 2019, and I'm sure they served many, many thousands of burgers.
Yeah.
In the event. So it's possible to do these things, but you're right. Setting up a full kitchen at CES, although possible, a lot of companies don't have $1 million to spend on the real estate to set that up. So they're not always Google.
I think this one was like 15 by 20 or something like that. I mean, that is an insane booth at CES,
right?
Because then you've got to have the ability to talk to people. You're talking about a 40 by 40 booth. That's at least $1 million, I bet.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it would be very.
And then how do you get that machine to Vegas?
They have trains.
It's true. Although I think the company was in Belgium.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
I remember looking at a printer. This is like 10 years ago. One of the skyscraper printers, the ones that are, what are they, 50 feet long or whatever it is. They were showing those at CES, and the only way you could get them there is by rail car. That was it. The only way. And they figured it out. So
there was a company at my second CES that was lead acid batteries, which I know we tend to talk to the flashy, but there's AA batteries and lead acid batteries too. And there was one that was so big that it was taller than me. And I remember saying, is this a real battery? They're like, yeah. 2 questions. 1, how do you transport this thing just here in the building? And 2, why not just have a hollow body? And the guy looks at me and goes,
I hadn't even thought about this until you brought it up, right?
Never considered just shipping the body.
Oh my God. Because what are they going to hook it up to, right?
Right.
That's too funny.
You could have put all the other
in the world.
You could have put all the other Russian nesting batteries. You could have put all of the other sizes just in one and just shipped this one empty plastic thing. They shipped a real one.
Cheers,
but they said they said oh no, they don't even ship it back. They just abandoned it in Vegas.
So what about autonomous vehicles? What do you guys think we're going to see this year?
Certainly more than we've seen in the past. Hopefully nobody will be a victim of one. You and I both got to ride in autonomous vehicles in 2020, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've ridden in quite a few at CES. In fact, I've been keeping tally. I'm actually at 41 right now. So
holy crap.
Just at CES?
No, this is at other events I've been invited to as well.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes dub myself as the person who's ridden in more different autonomous vehicles than anybody else in the world, and it's possible, I suppose.
No, you got me beat.
Quite a few, not more miles than anybody else, of course, but I get invited to a lot of these different things. I see. So I have one that's a flying boat,
Yep.
Is it Candela? Have you seen this thing? Are you guys interviewing them as well?
Potentially.
Okay.
They've got an invite and they're trying to figure out what to do.
Okay. They are coming on for Technology Days. So
Okay.
that helps you to, whether you're going to book them or not then.
Okay.
So, what was the other one? I have a couple automotive ones on here that I'm not.
Yeah.
But they're the platforms themselves. So Cebros, the connected vehicle platform, and then the autonomous chair. Have you seen this thing?
No, but I think I need one.
Before you say anything, Michelle, my guess is it's going to be similar to Chris Willingham's thing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Chris has an autonomous chair.
Chris Willingham, one of the guys that we work with at the Amrock Fab Lab, built essentially a
hover chair.
Yeah, and he had over the years built some AI and image detection into it. So I'm very curious.
I have no idea either.
Okay.
They're just building it as an autonomous chair. I'm not sure if it just goes to the fridge when you want to get a beer or whatever it is. I don't know. Do you speak to this thing to put your legs up and give you a massage? I suppose that's what it is. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I needed to take me to the mailbox though.
I mean, in the future, we're going to speak to everything, right? The door open now. Hey, refrigerator, give me a glass of milk, and this is what's going to happen, right? So,
yeah, true. It's definitely like. So I remember, speaking of the refrigerator, I remember when like Samsung added smarts to their refrigerator the first time, and there was almost like an audible laughter in the room. Everybody's like, "What are we talking about? Is that essentially an Android tablet just built into the side?"
right.
Yeah, but just like many other technologies, it was the beginning of them thinking about, well, how, where does more advanced technology fit in? And yeah, it does feel like it's headed in that direction.
Well, this is what's interesting. Now, we're moving into discussion on the Internet of Things, right? And so I'm just going to throw some numbers out here, or have you guessed on some numbers? How many computers do you think there are in the world, approximately?
A billion.
Okay, so it's 3. So not bad guess. How many IoTs are there in the world?
Infinite.
I mean, just thinking about how many are in this room is frightening.
So it's hard to imagine that a connected light bulb, there'd be more of those than there would be computers, right? But there are 13.5 billion IoTs right now. That's your refrigerator, your toaster, the glass that you're drinking beverage out of on a Friday night. I mean, whatever. I mean, everything seems to be getting connected, and they talk about that number doubling in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
which is why we had to go to IP6, for example, because there weren't enough numbers left in 4. We had to actually add billions more IP addresses to handle all these things, right? And so that's, I mean, when you can wage a denial of service attack on a website from light bulbs,
or DVRs
on right now, yes, exactly. So I would imagine we're going to see all kinds of connected devices this year that we have never even dreamed about, and there'll be a reason to have them. Like the first time
that's the key.
That's the key. But I have to tell you, the first time I seen a connected light bulb, I'm like, are you kidding me? What do I want a connected light bulb for?
Agreed.
Right now, they're like in every light socket I have, because I enjoy. Like I have my program at work. Like when the International Space Station comes over, it goes flashy and goes crazy. But when there are people that break a sensor coming in, light bulbs come on. If I'm at a certain GPS coordinate coming into my house, just a block away, the garage door will open up. The lights will come on in my house. It's incredible when you start thinking about what the possibilities are. But why would you have internet connected socks? for example. I don't know why, but somebody's going to try to convince me at this CES why I need to have my socks connected to the internet.
Is it Sensoria?
I have no idea. Just making it up.
Oh,
obviously you have somebody that's going to be talking to you about this.
They were on our collision coverage in 2015.
Okay.
Our first collision coverage.
Yeah.
Sensoria. They've gone on to bigger and better things, including connected shirts and things for doing wellness checks. The socks were for it was originally for people with diabetes, and it expanded from there.
Okay.
And then they've gotten into a lot of health tech, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Sensoria's gotten into a
Working
lot of
out and
health
stuff too, right?
What's that?
Exercising and
Yeah, that's what I meant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Socks, yeah.
I would have
Sports and
to
fitness
think,
and
though,
stuff.
you know, like, and I'm just going to pick on Converse or Nike or whatever, right? For like shoes, you know, they all have a big counterfeit issue, and you know, and I do believe we're going to start seeing NFTs on those type of device or on our wearables and things, because they'll prevent the counterfeiting thing. And then
2021, the company was on. No, 2022. It was CES this year. We had a company with that service.
Yeah, and I just see that really expanding this year. I think you're going to actually see companies that are going to come out and start touting the fact that they have NFTs connected to their shoes or their wearables or what paintings, whatever it is, to prevent counterfeiting. Which, of course, every one of those will have an IP address attached to it as well. So everything around that will be connected in the future. It just seems to be going that direction.
Yeah, and you know, I know there's a lot of backlash on NFTs, and for good reason. You know,
Yes.
a meme of somebody with laser eyes. I'm just gonna say that we all know what we're talking about. Is the dumbest thing on the planet, and we all know it.
I can't believe you got $1 million for yours.
You know, it happens. I'd prefer the 4.5, but you know, that's whatever. Anyway, so unbelievably stupid. But you know, we've been talking for years that there are places where the technology makes sense. In-game items that people are going to sell aftermarket anyway. You know, we've talked about World of Warcraft Gold and things like that. And you know, you go in and somebody has to take a leap of faith. Either I give you money and hope you show up to give me the item, or I show up to give you the item and hope you give me money. Somebody's taking a leap of faith, right?
Right.
Somebody could be out something that's valuable with NFTs in a game like that. It makes sense. There's other stupid implementations that have been a problem, but this is another great, you know, way of using it to authenticate a product.
Right.
You know, it has been used stupidly, but you know, IoT had a lot of stupid stuff in the early days too,
right.
And NFTs chain, you know, over time, you know, now we've got, you know, connected bulbs and things that can actually do things and are really interesting, security systems, and NFTs, I hope, will go that direction as well.
I would imagine, yeah. They'll figure out where they're useful. And of course, it's not for the $8 sneakers. It's going to be for the $100 and up sneakers.
Yeah.
Most people are going to market the $8 pair anyway, so because they're not making any money on them. But
True.
Don's not saying a word over there.
I know.
Yeah, oh,
I'm sorry.
Are you on mute?
Oh, there you go.
Are you on mute?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Oh, we were just saying you haven't been saying anything.
No, I'm just listening. I'm taking it all in. It's just, you know, it's interesting hearing everybody's opinion and ideas, and that's the fun of this. It's, you know, fascinating to me.
It's why I've always enjoyed doing this ahead of CES.
Yep.
We've started to get our pitches. You know, our emails are filling up.
Mhm.
We're starting to get a feel for what it is we're going to see. And, you know, some years, we always say some years are evolutionary. We're like, all right, so a new version of the Samsung phone. Okay. and then some years are revolutionary. Yeah, like you said, AI is going to be a huge thing this year. A couple years ago, Don had a company on. It wasn't Otter. It was the other one. Because Otter is text. That did it could virtualize a voice. I remember saying because I was producing at the time. I just want to verify, so I can virtualize Don's voice and have him say things. They're like, absolutely. And Don's like, why would you want that? Don't worry about that.
I had a website. I can't remember the company, but they created faces, and you can go on the website and there's like unlimited amount of faces, and these people don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And they give them a voice, any hairstyle you want, Caucasian, black, white, green, whatever. And you cannot tell the difference. It's impossible. You just can't. It's scary.
Well,
Yeah.
I just I've been training my virtual voice because there are times when they need me to do a voiceover for something on the radio station or whatever, and I'm not available. And it's not quite exact, but it's
getting better. It's getting pretty good. I've seen
crazy. I mean, I spent 20 minutes training on this thing. They had the 3-minute version, which I did, and it was okay. And then they came back and said, if you want to better, do the 20-minute version. I did that, and it's scary actually that how good it really is.
And it's getting better and better and better. That's
every day.
Yeah.
Well, for me, because I've been for me for CES, I mean, you have the big companies, but for me personally, and I meant to say this every year, is Eureka Park, and you find the most unique products, the unique services, the unique startups that are just have a small little booth, with barely nothing, and and a lot of ingenious ideas that come out of it, as far as smart tech and things of that nature. And every year I go down there. Well, I missed going down there last year, but over the years, I'm just like fascinated, going down there and seeing the crazy things. The things were like sports. I saw one that were when you're in a football game, or I can't remember the name of the company, but where they recognize like any head trauma when you get hit. Excuse me. So every year, I mean, and for those viewers who are new to this podcast with GNC Week in Review, that's one floor that's incredible, and the various foreign countries are that represent there as well.
Yeah,
they're so fun to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you never know,
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're such small booths.
Mm-hmm.
And they've usually got very minimal signage. They've probably got the one on the wall that's printed by CES.
Yep.
They might have one or two of those pull up, stand up things, and some literature on a counter, on a table. And that's usually it.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, that's a weird name. I got to do it.
I almost don't even care about going into any other part of the show. I would spend my whole time down there.
Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a reason why we've set up in the.
Yep.
It's not called the Sands, the Venetian Expo Towers at this point, because so much of the interesting stuff comes out of that building.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the new stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that the big companies don't come out with new stuff too, but
Right.
it's all you're dealing with this embargo crap all the time, and and these new companies, they just want to get the word out.
Exactly.
To talk to you.
And I love going down there too. It's my favorite place to go.
Yeah, it's where we encountered Benji Lock the first time.
Yeah.
Down in Eureka Park with his little wooden non-functional prototype, which is exactly what we're talking about. You never know what you're going to encounter.
Yeah.
Or the state that they're going to be in.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of it. I mean, that's the whole purpose of meeting, because the press, like major networks like CBS, NBC, ABC, what have you, they're not going to go down to Eureka Park.
Right.
They're not going to, they're only there for like a hot minute and leave. So as far as us,
they set up at Central Hall because they want to talk to the big guys.
Right.
Well, so their advertising dollar is right.
Yeah,
exactly.
If they can do a nice report on General Motors, and you have a conversation with them, they have the potential to sell them advertising or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what their game is. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's why I love. That's why I maybe I know I'm biased, but also in the same token, when I watched coverage years ago, and I was fascinated by the various companies and things that I had never seen before. And and for them to come on, these companies are so grateful to come on, happy to come on. Little know more about them, how they came about the product, and they walk away with a great experience, and that carries them forward.
We can build relationships with them like we did with Ben Gulak and some others.
Yeah, I remember, and I know you guys have stories like this too, but probably the first time that I had what I would consider a significant impact on a company was Deeper. I don't know if you remember this company. It was they basically built this fish finder. It looks like a bobber. Have you seen this thing?
Yes.
About 5 or 6 or 10 years ago now. I'm the first one, or our team was the first one that did an interview with them. And it was the last day or the second to last day of CES. And it was at closing. And you guys, what it's like. I mean, you don't even want to talk to anybody else anymore. And this guy, we come walking by with our video crew. And this guy came out of his booth and begged me to do an interview. And I'm walking by and I'm like, I'll just catch you tomorrow. We're all exhausted. This guy just dogged me for like 2 aisles. Can you please come and do an interview? And I finally just asked him. I said, "Are you going to leave me alone if I come and talk to you?" Yes, because he wasn't going to leave me alone. So we went back there and did this interview, and I was just stunned that nobody had come and talked to this guy because what he had developed was incredible. And we started talking about, it was great for the fishing part of it, but then we started getting into search and rescue and all the other things that were possible with this thing.
I remember this
interview, and then it gets picked up, and then I guess it gets on one of the shopping networks, and the rest is history for him. So the next year we come walking by, and I didn't know any of this, and he comes up and he just comes right out. He's talking to somebody. He just stops and comes out and hugs me. And
wow!
And he remembered of course, he remembered my name. I'm trying to remember his name right now for whatever reason I can't. I usually do. And he's like, that interview you did made my company. And these are the things that we like. I think that's what we all like about going down to Eureka Park or whatever, because it's like giving that little person, that little creator, whatever, that company, the chance to get heard, and then it allows. And the lives that particular product has changed because of that is incredible. So that's really what it's about, right?
That's one of the reasons that Michelle and I enjoyed that Collision conference for the years that we did it, is because everybody was an early stage company. So many of them had these weird products. Nikia always liked to say that it was like being in the mad scientist's lab, because very little of what was there was going to come out as it was. But there were some really interesting pitches, and so many. I can't tell you how many of the companies that we talked to at Collision over the years reached out and said, "Hey, can we buy the unbranded?" Because that's something that we do. Can we buy the unbranded version of the interview because we want to use it in our pitch deck? Because we've got an investor who's interested and we want to include the interview in the pitch deck. Yeah, no worries. The number of people, the number of companies that did that. And then, the number of companies that went on from being this little nothing at Collision in a tent in Las Vegas to being PetCube, whose ads you can't miss on television. They were on our Collision coverage in 2015 with a non-functional 3D printed prototype.
That's amazing. That's a great story too.
And today you can't watch, especially today, because they advertise like crazy during the holidays. You can't turn on the TV without seeing the ad for PetCube.
Right.
So, and obviously for us, Benji Lock is our version of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to excuse myself. I have another obligation. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing everybody, and everybody looks good. And I guess we'll see each other in a couple of weeks, actually, at this point.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Thank
you. And we'll see everybody real soon. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so for Michelle and I, it was Benji Lock. That was our very few people had talked to Robbie at that point, again, because he had a wooden non-functional thing on his table. And people were like, not a serious thing, kept walking. And Dave, who's just off camera for Michelle, hounded Marissa. Like, no, we've got to do this one. We've got to do this one. We've got to do this one. And I mean, you know, he's been on Shark Tank and working with
Hampton
Tim Kelly, with Hampton Products. You can go to an Ace Hardware and see the product in the store. It's just absolutely, it's wild to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And it's interesting to tell that they tell their story. Because some, you know, they're like Marley said, that they have bullet points for advertising and they'll do a fluff piece. But you know, when we do their interview with them, these companies, you know, we always want to know more about them, how to come about, and not just throw like, you know, well, what's the company's name, what's the product, the price, etc. You know, we want to get in more depth in case, you know, for viewers and listeners or viewers of the webcast, you know, can be more intrigued to learn more about them and be more inclined to find out more information, be more inclined to purchase their products. And Benji Lock is a great example, you know, where his brand is everywhere. I mean, you can find him anywhere. So that's the beauty of our coverage in this network.
There's one right there.
A Benji Lock?
I can't reach it. It's just far enough away that I can't reach it. It's in the corner of the studio. But there's one sitting right there.
You know, the other thing that I always find interesting too, and through this process, even this year, booking interviews right now, is the amount of PR firms that get in the middle. And, you know, they're like, you know, are you going to provide a list of questions that we can be prepared for or whatever? The answer for me is no. Mm-hmm. I want that interview to be, I want to be surprised and engaged when I'm talking to them. If I know this stuff in advance, the person who's watching isn't going to see me gush over something that I just figured out. The light bulb goes off in my head,
right?
And I get all excited about the product, which I think conveys a lot in the interview, right?
Absolutely.
Or it can go the other way, and I suppose that's what they're afraid of, is that they're not going to get that excited about this, but that's okay. That's what the point of this is. And
right.
I will not do interviews if they start sending over questions that we're supposed to ask and stuff. It's just not real.
Yeah.
And, you know, our policy for TPN, for people who are watching and may not have seen stuff in the past, we don't necessarily do interviews so much as conversations.
Right.
We start with introduce yourself. There are two questions that we are going to ask. Introduce yourself, and how can people find out more?
Right.
Everything in the middle is on the fly.
Yeah.
We prepare nothing. And in fact, other than Marlo and I, who have seen the company names of the segments that we're producing, nobody even knows the company names of who's coming on.
You will never do that to me ever again.
I wasn't even going to go there.
And that's all the farther we're going to go with that, by the way. But
you're even turning red now,
well,
3 years later. Oh, I don't even think that was 3 years ago. I think that was 2019. That was 4 years ago.
You know, if anybody wants to see me turn 50 shades of red during an interview,
it was 2020.
Go back, and I'm sure you guys could highlight that interview again. But she even said it was okay too, right? I mean, even though we were totally shocked with the product on sale.
And I gotta be honest, I was TDing that morning, and I was giggling from start to finish. And
I was curious why everybody was gathered around out there before that started. Oh,
I was gathered up there for a different reason, and I was as shocked as you, but it was very funny.
I was going to say, I'll tell you why everybody was up. Well, I won't tell you why, but I'll tell you that that's not the reason why everybody was up there.
Okay. It wasn't about the 50 Shades of Red, huh?
No. That was a bonus.
That was a perk.
Yeah.
There was a mild security issue.
I see.
That is the reason why everybody was gathered up there.
Well, that's something you and I don't have to talk about after the show here, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. Just as a note, in 2020, Don interviewed Sensoria that we were talking about earlier on the show. I just saw I was looking back through some of the old guest lists.
Gotcha. Yes.
And Don did talk to Sensoria in 2020. So we've been following them for years. I can't remember the PR guy's name. He works for, is it Travis Jacket or something like that? It's like the cameraman's jacket with all the.
Oh yeah.
He's the PR guy for them now. He was working with Sensoria for years. Because I remember him coming up to the booth with the jacket company a couple years ago, and Michelle and I are like, "What's going on?" you were with Sensoria a couple years ago. I think they work with Karen Thomas now. But yeah, there are, back to your comment about PR companies. There are some that are problems and some that are hugely helpful. You know, Steve Winter, for example.
Sure.
One of our favorite people.
Yeah.
He's already got all of his clients on our schedule.
And it's just a matter of if the PR firm or the person that works for the company understands the style.
Yeah.
You know, that they know that they can trust you to ask the questions and bring the product to light, you know.
Yeah.
That's what they're after. I would imagine a lot of times some of these companies, that they don't know who you are a little antsy about making sure that they get their message across, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I know as a producer, when I was West Coast producer, this year, you know, when I introduce myself, and they will basically, I'll tell them, you know, who's going to be there, having a conversation, and, you know, basically free flowing, you know, and they're very relaxed. And also when they come in, for those who don't know, like, you know, what, you know, behind the scenes, there's a lot goes on behind the scenes when guests come on. So we have to not necessarily prep them per se, but, you know, we want to make sure we got their name badge, their name that's on the badge, and take it off when they get on the camera.
Sure.
But as far as like with a lot of companies, we don't really have, with the exception of Steve Winter, of course, but a lot of it, remaining them don't have, you know, PR people. Yeah. So we want to make sure that when they come on, they know, and they have questions for us, you know, well, where's it going to air? You know, can I get a copy? So we give them all the information, you know, at the end, but they still ask for a copy. As soon as it's done, they would ask. I remember one guy in 2018 when I was down there, this guy was like hammering Todd, getting the copy of the video, and they try to explain to him, we'll get it when it's published, and but he was, I was like, oh my God, dude, read the room.
Yeah, we get, so except for this year where we're blocking off for National Tech Day, we usually have 140-ish segments available. We usually, some people don't show up, they're in conversations down at their booth, they can't come, whatever. So we end up publishing 110-ish from the studio. And out of that 110, 20 of them will be like, when's it going to air? When's it going to air? When can I get the video? When can I get the video?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't know.
There's a lot of work that goes in here. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it does. Yep.
If you want to write a 500-word write-up about your company, I'll move you up the list. How's that? And they're like, oh, well, all right. Well, then you're in line for when our team writes the thing. So cool off. Yeah. The other option is you can pay to move up the list. Those are your choices.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, then calm down. This is where we are. We're a small team of independent producers that have to put all of this stuff together. So when can you get the video? Shh,
A few of us do put that into our spiel when we're talking to them before they go on air. Nancy, Dave, and I will tell them it may be a few weeks before this gets published.
Right.
You know,
and it comes in. We do it as part of the spiel. We tell them in the email, the confirmation email, and the follow-up email, how the publishing process works. And they're still like, hey, when can I get the video? You're going to get moved down the list, bud.
They're
Calm
just
down.
excited. You know,
I know.
that's all there is.
I know. It's really hilarious. It's funny, but also there's a lot of work that goes into it. A lot of people don't realize, you know, and like Scott says, we do things on the fly, and if something happens, God forbid, whatever happens. And I think what really struck me last year, 2021, when we were all virtual, there was little things that kind of happened, but you know, it went smoothly. But a lot of people don't realize the work that goes into it. It's a lot of work goes into it, but the payoff.
And the number of people that are not on camera. Right? Even for the virtual one in 2021, right? There's one person on camera and 3 more people in the virtual studio talking to somebody and actually producing, doing the switching, there's like 3 more people here in this room. Last year, well, not necessarily in this room in Mission Control out there. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at all times, so that we could manage the chat room and, you know, put on Twitch, because on Twitch, every time the guest changes, so does the text on our Twitch channel. Like, there are so many people you don't see. And then afterwards, there's editing. There, ahead of time, there's ad sales and, you know, all the partnership stuff. Afterwards, there's editing, and like I said, there's a 500-word write-up about each company that comes on the show that gets
almost
published.
Every one of those people have a day job too.
Yeah, exactly right.
So when we get to the editing and write-up and publishing point, that's where things slow down, because
well, for me,
and you pull all that off too. So
well, for me, I was alone. I was only the lone person, the lone producer, you know, this year. And I was managing like 3 different jobs into one. And you know, it was a lot of work, but again, the payoff was tremendous. I had a blast. I was worn out. You know, I made sure that everyone had all the mechanics were working with Marlo, making sure he's there and all that stuff, and getting guests. I mean, it was just like, it was a lot. But you know, and this is the other joke that all of us were having. I didn't fall.
A definite win.
A definite win for me. So for those who don't
a win
know,
for all of us.
Right.
If you had fallen, the Vegas studio would have collapsed. So thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah. So for those who don't know, I fell. I was at the Sony booth at the LVCC. I fell and I hurt my shin badly. Virtual 2021, I fell down at home, broke a toe. So so this year I'm like, I promise everyone on a team, I'm watching where I walk.
Bubble wrap.
Exactly right. So yeah, but I promised, you know, I promised myself as well, you know, to not fall, but everything's been good so far. So.
I do have a bit of bad news, you guys. So we're going to have to find a place to meet at the end of this, because the restaurant that we've met at for the last 8 or 10 years is no more.
No.
Oh, no.
So is it gone completely, or did it move to the other small location? Because I know that was the plan.
They said they were going to move, but that was before COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I do not know the answer to that. I know that there's another restaurant in that space, so it's possible that they just moved.
That's what she said they were going to do.
They were supposed to trade locations. The one that's in the location of the grotto was supposed to move, and trade with the grotto, because the grotto wasn't doing enough business to justify the larger space, and the other one was always busy, so they wanted to give it the larger space.
Well, maybe we still get it. That'd be okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, and it might not be after COVID. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, we can all go to McDonald's. I'm okay with that.
Oh, it'll be better than that Chinese restaurant that we tried that one year and nobody actually got their food. Oh.
What was that Mexican place we went to the one year? That was good on Main Street. I wouldn't mind going back there.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I've actually eaten there a few more times since. So
Oh, yeah?
they have pretty good food there. Yeah.
I know that we had trouble a couple times in a row, and then we found the grotto, and they were fabulous, and we stopped. Yeah. We're like, that's it. No more searching. This works.
Everybody stays down there anyway, so it's just easy to walk over. And
since my birthday is usually within a couple of days, we usually get a dessert for free.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Jack.
For those who don't know that story, Todd's mother used to come with us for CES, and she did interestingly what my mother now does in the studio, making sure everybody's set up and communicating with everybody and doing all that. And there was one year that she didn't come to dinner with us, but she was at the table, and then she went upstairs. Before she went, she told the server, just so you know, it's his birthday, and pointed at our former TD Jack and said, it's his birthday. Didn't tell anybody else that she had done this. So at the end of dinner, they sang to him, and he just leaned into it. And so
for years, I thought it was real.
He got a free dessert and the whole 9 yards. And then the whole rest of the night, our team, like, he hung out with us. We went up in the Strat, and we kept every, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, something would happen and it would trigger everybody. Happy birthday, Jack. And what a couple of us didn't know was that Michelle and Danny didn't know that it wasn't his birthday, and that his birthday's actually.
We told him happy birthday every year.
His birthday's actually like in June or something.
I love it when those things just live on and on and on.
Yeah,
and it has stuck.
Funny.
Doesn't Alice do it now?
What's that?
Hasn't Alice taken it over and picks a different person?
She has done that the last couple of years. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it used to be Sherry that would do it, and now Alice has taken over the tradition of picking somebody
whose
it's their birthday.
Yeah,
it's true.
It is.
So I got to ask. We talked about looking back, looking ahead. So I got to ask, and I think we talked about this over the past in preview shows before. What is your favorite and not so favorite from CESs?
The Jacksons concert is both my favorite and not favorite.
That was a fun concert.
But not for any of the reasons that they meant it to be. Because the whole first half was chaos on a level that just is unimaginable.
Weren't you involved in the production of that concert?
No.
Some level? No? Okay.
No. Thank goodness, no.
Wasn't there a concert you guys were involved with one time, though? Or maybe a couple times at Monster?
So we were involved with the red carpet for the one before that?
Yeah.
Or was it that one?
No, it wasn't that one. It was
I didn't think so.
Million.
Yeah.
That's his first name.
Oh, no. What? That was she and Shaq were the hosts. Oh my God. Were we involved in that one before everything went sideways? Oh, I got to go back and look now.
Because we thought Shaq was going to come down the red carpet. We were going to have Danny interview him and just hold the mic. Yeah.
That's funny.
Something had happened with they did Million's what is her first name? I hate calling her that. Christina Milian. They did her interview like before, and she had to come back for it because they didn't get the audio or something. So we ended up doing it, and she was very nice, but the people around her were not.
Yeah, and we were involved in something else with her that night that put my frustration level through the roof. That was not the night of
the Jacksons.
The Jacksons.
Was Jacksons the night that their audio was so horrible?
So here's what happened. They decided that they didn't want to pay to use Britney's soundboard because Britney Spears was in her residency, captivity, whatever you want to call her time at Planet Hollywood. And they didn't want to pay to use her board. So they brought their own production in and tried to use that. And it was sketchy at best. Yeah. And so they did an unplanned intermission. The whole production shut down for like 35 minutes. And what it turned out to be was they were ripping all the cables out of their board and putting them into Britney's board. They're like, you know what? Well, that's it. And when they came back, the Jacksons performed and everything was flawless. So the first part was awful. Half the performers didn't have working microphones. The lights weren't working right. Nobody could hear anything. Just absolute chaos. And then a break, which was weird. And then the Jacksons get up there and it is a flawless performance. The sound works perfectly. The lights are perfect. Everything is ideal condition. So that's the best and worst all in one. What about you, Kirk?
So for me, I've seen I would say yes, that's my worst. But for my best, I think it's for the past couple of years, I've been loving Wonder Painter, and that was our best for 2020. And I've been saying that for quite some time. But the one thing that sticks out over all that, and if we all heard stories on the news about packages getting stolen from the porches, from Amazon, UPS, what have you. So 2021, there was a guy that came on from the package protector or protectapackage.com, where it's a device where they put on, if you have a package be picked up or dropped off, you put like clips on the side of the package, and if someone decides to steal it, a loud alarm goes off. And I thought that was really a genius idea. I mean,
it was done simply, right? Like it was just a clip or something.
Yep, just a clip.
As opposed to like the locked boxes,
exactly.
And all these big crazy things.
Exactly, because when especially down in Rica Park, there were several of these things where a storage boxes, you put a key, you have an app for it, you can unlock it, things of that nature. It was like it was gargantuan. Little clips, like little vacuum clip, like you seal a potato chip bag with those little clips. But it was ingenious, and I was intrigued, with his story. When Todd interviewed him, I was so intrigued with his story and how it came about. And I was ready to purchase one. And I looked on the website just now, and they're supposed to be selling them by the end of this year, beginning of next year. So when it comes out, because I told a true story that I had Christmas packages stolen from my porch, from my house. So to get something like that, is beneficial for everyone, and I think that was my favorite. So how about you, Marlo?
You want my weirdest first, or do you want my best first?
You choose. Dealer's choice.
There you go.
Who's the dealer?
You are.
Okay, so my worst, I'm going to go worst weirdest. So have any of you ever interviewed the Wi-Fi people?
Yeah.
No.
So, and I don't know if did you actually interview the Wi-Fi?
I don't think so.
So they're from France, and they had this. So Wi-Fi, for everybody watching, is using light instead of Wi-Fi, it's Wi-Fi. It actually uses light to transmit the internet, and the practical applications of that are immense. I mean, your yard light could be, or the light that you're in. And the cool thing about it, of course, is that, like if you have kids or whatever, and you're using a Wi-Fi device, you just turn the light off in the house. They don't have the internet anymore, so if you want to turn them off at night or whatever, I just think that's neat. But they were so focused on their one thing, and that was providing internet to hospitals. So I interviewed them. There was a little bit of a language barrier, but the light bulb literally went off in my head about what this was, way above what they could even fathom, right? So I actually awarded them, back in the days when we would give out our best choice of the year was the TPN awards, right? And we each one of us who were doing things for that got to pick our favorite, and I picked them as my favorite.
Which, by the way, is back this year.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know.
We didn't do it in 2021 or 2022, but it's back this year.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I go over there and tell them that they're my pick, and they don't understand that they're winning this award, right? And they come on, they actually came in and because you get that quick little 2-minute as you present the award to them. They still didn't understand. And after a little bit, I just gave up.
Yeah.
You can only do things so long, Oh, it was just crazy. My best, though, was at one of the concerts. It's funny that we're bringing up these concerts. So a lot of times they'll embargo. Monster will always wait till the last minute to introduce who they're going to have, right? And it was the year that they had Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
So I had heard that, Fleetwood Mac was in Vegas. They played supposedly their last concert ever, last in Vegas. And here 2 nights later, it comes out that they're going to play at the Monster event, Monster Cable, by the way, for everybody watching. They always have
not energy drink.
Not
energy drink.
That's
people.
Correct. Those people.
The people that make these lights in our wall.
Yes. And anyway, they always have, and they invite some of the press to this thing. There's usually maybe a couple thousand people that show up at this, so it's very limited, right? So didn't have tickets yet, and Alice and I were with another couple and heard who it was, so we wandered back there to get our tickets. Well, we come around the corner, and there must have been 10,000 people standing there, right? And and Joe's the guy that's with me, and we're just like, what in the world is going on here? Well, all these people are trying to get tickets for Fleetwood Mac, right? And there was like 4 or 5 guys standing on tables, and all of a sudden they seen my badge in this sea of people. I have no idea how they even picked me out of this thing. And whatever else, right? The guy looks at me and he points at me and he waves me up. And we fight our way through the crowd. We get up there,
throwing elbows.
Like, how many tickets do you want? And I said, I need 4 tickets, which again surprised me. How many tickets do you want? I could have asked for 20 and handed them out as I left there, right? But I just said 4 for the 4 of us. And he hands me the 4. And Joe grabs me by the collar and says, "We need to get out of here now."
Yeah.
Because people were clamoring to get those tickets,
Yeah.
And it was an okay concert, but I just remember that time of coming into that sea of people and that guy just standing there. I have no idea how he seen me and all those people. It just amazed me. But anyway.
I'm going to guess that it was probably Chris. But
somebody obviously.
That's my guess. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Michelle.
I can't really narrow down a favorite. The whole thing is my favorite. I love CES.
Cheater.
No
I
fair.
love everything about it. I mean, except for the exhaustion, but you don't realize it till it's too late, and you're so exhausted that you got to get up in 4 hours. I mean, that's
show mode's a heck of a thing.
Yeah. So my least favorite part is probably not getting any sleep, and getting to the airport when we go to leave. But no, I love everything. I love all the companies. I love the big companies, although they're not the best to interview. But walking through that big hall with all the new stuff, and that's cool. LG's booth and all the things that they do. Yeah.
With the TVs.
I get mesmerized. The time that they had the little balls going, making the and the Bellagio. I love the Bellagio. Yeah, no, I wanted to go for so many years, and was thrilled to finally get the opportunity after I met Scott. So
she had no idea what she was getting herself into, though.
Not especially.
No, but luckily, I didn't mind doing all the work. When you told me I could work for it. When I asked you if I could go, but
there's always
I love all of it. I love meeting all you guys, and learning so much more than I ever thought I'd learn about stuff. I've always been a tech kind of person, and back in the day when nobody was techie, and I was the only one in the house that could use the VCR and stuff. I sold electronics at Sears when I was a teenager. I remember when the first computers hit the floor, and oh my God, how do I sell one of these? Figure it out.
We are now, yeah, that's cool. You were talking about the exhaustion part, and I'm sure you guys get this too. People will volunteer to come and help you, right? I mean, you probably have friends, or they hear that you've been covering CES for so many years, right?
That's how she happened.
Yeah. So one of our friends one year said, "Oh, I would do anything to be with you," right? Said, "Fine, you can carry the camera around or whatever, right? And I come around. This is just the second day, and I told him, I said, this is a grind. I mean, you're going to put more miles on your feet. Make sure you wear comfortable shoes. All of this stuff, right?" And I come around the corner. He had found a place to sit down, and he had fallen asleep against the wall. It's only 11 in the morning on the second day.
I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep. I had no idea.
So hard.
I've never been in so much pain.
Yeah.
At the end of that first day and into that second day. And the guy that I was producing for was a jerk all day long. The only thing he would carry was his microphone. And I'd be just trying to keep up.
And of course, with all the events that we all get invited to, I think a person could actually go 24 hours a day, or maybe 21, 22, because there's always stuff that goes late into the evening, and then there's early breakfast stuff. You could probably just have a couple hour break in there to get a couple hours sleep and go, but you would never ever make it to the end.
For me, when I came on in 2018 and as executive producer for Geeking Central, I asked Todd, to come out, if I can come out and help, and I was a producer, and also the digital producer. I was doing the website and keeping on a chat and what have you. And I'm like Michelle, I love tech. I think it's fascinating to see. I mean, my jaw, when I walked in, I was like, my jaw hit the floor. Like, I'm seeing all this stuff and these companies and Samsung's booth is like incredible.
It's so big they literally call it the village.
Yeah. And I was like floored, and just to meet and met with Scott and Michelle and Danielle and and Marlo and everything and Don. It was like and I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a blast. I mean, I would get up. It's when you see, people don't realize that getting up extremely early in the morning and getting done, at like 7, 8 o'clock at night. We have those events like CES Unveiled.
That's just from the convention center. For those who are listening, that's just the convention center time. That's not. We're not done at 8 p.m. We're just heading over to the Bellagio to go to some suite party or whatever to see product
or unveiled or
it's not. And it also too, when I tell people, and people don't know, CES covers not only LVCC, the Venetian Expo,
which is now 4 buildings.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And there's hotels, there's Bellagio, there's different events all over Vegas, and there's no way you can do every single event, press conference in the span of those 4 days or 3 to 4 days. It's literally
see
impossible.
Every booth in one of the buildings.
Right.
No, there's so much. And isn't there a new? I haven't seen the new.
The new part of the convention center is
West Hall.
Yeah, I've been in there a couple times for a couple other events. It's easily. It's not probably quite double what it was before, but it's significant.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
It's everything basically across the street from the I forget is it Paradise that goes across in front there? It's across the street.
I think so.
Basically, all the way down to the you can go in and do the skydiving thing in that building. You know what I'm talking about?
I've done that before.
Yes. That it goes all the way to that building.
Wow.
That's how big this thing is. It's just unbelievable. But they have an amazing food court in there now and all that stuff.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be weird to navigate this year then with the team being at the Venetian and we only having like Danielle, with a producer out at LVCC, that's going to be different.
Yeah.
So do you know the story behind the add-on here?
No.
So it's CES as to why they have this add-on. They told CES that they would build this if they would commit to another 20 years in Vegas. And that's the reason, and that's how they're paying for this $500 million add-on to the convention center. It's significant, you guys.
And
it's just unbelievable.
That's just the cost of building it. That didn't even count the cost of purchasing the hotel that was there.
All of it, yeah.
And Gary Shapiro's office is right next door to the food court.
So the only thing is that's where we used to all park at.
The gold lot.
It's gone.
Yep.
There's no they haven't finished building any of the parking ramps around it or anything yet. I think that's all planned for yet. So it's going to be, well, I guess since we're not going there, the trick is that you just go over to the Venetian and then just bus over. Because if you're going to try to get into the convention center any other way, it's just going to be madness. It's already madness the way it is.
I want to ride in the tube. How do we?
So that's interesting. So you go over to that sky jump area that I'm talking about, and you can ride in the tube, and it'll take you to either north or to west from there. Yep. And it's free. So or you can go on the other side, and I'm sure it'll be very, very busy during CES. So, but they'll have a lot of cars. I've never had to wait. I've ridden it probably a half a dozen times, and you just walk right up and hop in a car. They take off. It's like a 1 to 2 minute ride. It's very.
Maybe we can film it, Scott. One of the first, like before it really opens.
It's not a bad idea to go do it like on the 3rd. I would suggest that actually on that Tuesday or something, because they'll be running by that time, I'm sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm going to put a serious answer in. I'm going to say my favorite part is the team that we've put together. Obviously, the team has changed significantly since the early days when it was Todd and Jeffrey and Andy McCaskey. Because Todd's the only one left from the early days. And, we've had people come and go over the years, but I think we've built a really solid core team at this point. And the show kind of, I mean, not really, but as far as having things down, the show kind of runs itself, which is fantastic. We all know what we're going to do. We used to have these big, long, complex CES team meetings. What are we going to do? And what are we know what we're going to do. Everybody knows what their jobs are. We all know that Don takes the morning slot and we rotate the other hosts throughout the rest of the day. And then some people go off and do the show floor when they're not on the live show. Kirk and Michelle will mostly run the board. Adam will as well, And we all know what our roles are.
Yep.
It's made everything so much better. And we all like working together. Has not always been the case in the past. The team that we have now all really enjoys working together. We don't have to explain what CES is, or
Right.
Am I gonna make money doing this? Oh, that's a complicated question with an even more complicated answer, and one that particular person did not enjoy. So, it's nice. We've really put together a solid team, and I'm glad for that.
I don't think any of us do this for the money. In fact, it's just the exact opposite. Right. I'm willing to bet that it cost all of us a lot of money to do this.
Yeah.
So I don't look at this is at least in my world, it's not a return on investment type of scenario. My return on investment is getting to be there to, have these conversations with these people. And if sometime in the future I would ever make any money doing that would be okay with me, I guess. But I'll do it for that.
Yeah. I'll tell you the answer that was given to that question the year that it was asked in our group chat was really complicated and really great. it was Jeffrey, who's not on the team anymore, but the answer was really great. He said, let me tell you a story. About 6 years ago, I happened to talk to an engineer at Ford. We did an interview. We showed off the whatever product they were showing off at CES, and I went home several grand in the hole. However, over the last 5 years, I nurtured that relationship, and now 3 times a year, Ford brings me out to HQ to do interviews, to talk about the product, and to show off what they're working on. My top 10 videos on YouTube are all from that. They have more than paid for all of my investment in past CESs.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have had it without that expense of CES up front. So the answer to the question is no.
No.
It's a relationship building practice is what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have the relationship with Monster or Robbie with Benji Lock. We wouldn't know any of these people who have been huge supporters of what we do.
Right.
You know, on top of
but it's because
you were big supporters of theirs.
Yeah, but you were the first supporter of theirs, which is why they're with you now. You know, so it's a relationship that builds on itself, and you're right. Yeah, love that.
For me, like again, I came on in 2018. I asked Todd to come on if I can come on and help, and it's not about the money for me. Like it's the investment for me is getting the experience out of it, and my full-time job, my day job. I don't want to get started, but I will. But
customer service, if you can't tell, because he doesn't want to talk about it. Continue.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So you know, my goal, my dream is to get into video production as a producer, TD, etc. And over the years, I learned to learn more and more and more with different software, different boards, things of that nature, and I enjoy it. It's not about the pay. I agree with Marla. It's not about money per se. You know, that's a plus for some people. For me, it's not really a plus. It's really the gaining the knowledge, experience, network. You know, and I will do it. I said, to everybody, I'll stay on, until I can't do anymore, until I'm old and gray. I guess I'm old and gray now, but but no, I enjoy it year in, year out. It's money well spent. Let's put it that way. It's money well spent.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who wants to get into production full time, last year you got to work with the ATEM, right? The Black Magic system. Previous years, you've gotten to work with the live stream studio that we use. You've gotten to use the TriCaster.
Yep.
Basically, the big three have all been in your hands to produce a pretty big show.
Yeah, absolutely. The content that comes out of it is like spectacular. I mean, we're like, and I always say that we're better than CNET and TechCrunch and what have you. We're a small little team. We're a mighty team though, and it shows in the views on YouTube and on our pages and Twitter and what have you. The proof is in the proverbial pudding.
True. True. Well, we've been rambling for a while. Before we go, I just want to let everybody know. First and foremost, the show will be, because this is a Sunday CES this year, it will be January 5, 6, 7, and 8. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be broadcasting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Definitely do the math for yourself. Follow us on the various channels. You can go to techpodcast.com/CES 2023. All of the broadcasts will be there. You can go over to our Twitch, the Pluckets Live Twitch channel, and YouTube as well. And then we'll be syndicating through some of the other TPN shows and sites as well. If you are interested in, if you're an exhibitor, you want to be on the show, you can send me an email, scott@pluckits.com. We'll try and get you on the show if your product obviously matches the audience that we have. We don't want to waste your time if your product doesn't sync with our audience. We know our audience. And if you are a company that's interested in sponsoring our CES coverage, same thing. Send me an email, scott@plugkits.com, and we can have a conversation about that. We've got a sponsor package out there. And I guess before we go, you can follow me at plugkits.com. I'm Scott. Our show F5 Live is on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, except for this week, where I think it's going to be on Monday.
And I'm Kirk Corliss, GNC Week in Review, with Scott, co-hosting with Scott Ertz. Friday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, gncweekly.com/live.
Marlo Anderson, Facebook. You can catch me at Marlo Anderson USA, Twitter, Marlo Anderson US. We are full for the National Tech Day. We just started a waiting list today, but if you want to get on the waiting list, let me know. We might expand that. It's 11 to 3 that we're broadcasting. Scott, you and I need to have a conversation if we're going to expand that an hour or two on each side of that. But right now we're totally booked. So, which I
Impressive.
Yeah, it's cool.
We'll be simulcasting back and forth.
Yes.
the whole day. So if you want to be part of the
we could
National Tech
do that. Do you
National Tech Day, you can also jump on our schedule. So
do you have some openings left on the 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll do that. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I don't have my own show yet, but stay tuned.
No, she doesn't have her own show, but she does produce so much of the stuff on Plug Hits Live. So, which we could not do any of what we do without our behind the scenes people. Although Michelle has promised this year that she wants to be on the show.
Yes, I do.
Which I'm very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to have a production camera.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for years too. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll have that for sure. So again, you'll be able to catch us January 5, 6, 7, and 8 from Las Vegas. And I guess with that, on behalf of the big team that is not on tonight, we will see you in January.